All right. What's going on? I'm just having some fun this morning. Welcome in, guys. Farzin Wasugan here with you to discuss the last preseason game that will take place today. The Chiefs and the Seahawks. Robert's at work. A lot of you guys are at work right now. So appreciate you guys joining us while you're at work. Hopefully, if your boss comes by and says, "What in the hell are you watching? Who is that weirdo on the screen?" Just say it's educational purposes, it's work related, something like that. I know with the NCAA tournament, I don't know if this is true, but this is what I've heard. They have, the website for you to watch the games, because a lot of them happen while people are at work, the round of 64. And I guess there's like a button you can click, like if your boss is walking by, an Excel spreadsheet will come up just to make it look like you're working. Imagine you work at a place where you don't use Excel spreadsheets ever. What's your backup plan then? Because if that's the only thing they allow, then you're screwed. But we're not here to discuss that. We are here to talk some Chiefs football. Appreciate you all joining me. Donnie's asking what time does the game start? 7 p.m. unless I'm completely mistaken, but I believe it's 7. A lot of games are happening tonight. Some happened yesterday. I think there's only 2 games tomorrow. But everyone must submit their 53-man roster by Sunday evening, and these may not come out right away. I remember last year it took a couple of hours until, word got out what the 53-man roster ended up being, which, let's start with that, the 53-man roster, because that's what everyone wants to discuss here. People want to know who will make the 53-man roster. I will say this in regards to the 53-man roster, because with the offense this year, it's interesting because there's a little wrinkle with the offensive side. Everyone knows that the Chiefs are going to take 3 quarterbacks to the 53-man roster. They're not going to put Garrett Nussmeier through on the practice squad because he has to you have to cut him technically. So the way that process works, he's got to clear the waiver wire, and then he has to be available, meaning no one claims him. And that's not happening. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier for sure will get picked up. And even if he lands on your practice squad, I don't think he stays there for too long. Someone's going to take him eventually. So I think the plan is for the Chiefs to have 3 quarterbacks on the main roster. That means the Chiefs are going to have to go one number down on one of the position groups. And in fact, because of the 12 and 13 personnel sets that the Chiefs are anticipated to use frequently this season, you're probably going to need 4 tight ends. And listen, they just traded for Joshua Ezeudu, who has lined up 18 times in his career as an inline tight end. But I don't think they're going to consider that. I still think they would want the 4 tight ends. So given Ezeudu's versatility on the offensive line, Connor Norzad brings that versatility as well. And I know there's a little bit of a concern right now with Josh Simmons and his potential long-term availability. We'll discuss that later. But right now, when you're just looking across the board, I think 9 offensive linemen, that's going to be the number for the Chiefs on their 53-man roster. So that leads me to the wide receiver position. Who are the locks at wide receiver? We've got a few obvious names, okay? Obviously, the 3 immediate names, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Tyquan Thornton. Those are your 3 for sure guaranteed wide receiver spots. I think Cyrus Allen, everyone's favorite player in training camp, he's got a roster spot. That's 4. Jalen Royals, who the Chiefs drafted last year and hopefully will use more this year. We're now at 5 already. And I know these are not household names at the wide receiver position, but these are guys that the Chiefs really like, and I'd be surprised if any of those 5 guys were to get cut. Now, here's my question. The Chiefs traditionally in the last, 2, 3, maybe 4 years, have had 7 receivers on their roster. And because the Chiefs are probably going to have 4 tight ends and will utilize the 12, 13 personnel more often, that might lead to the Chiefs having 1 less wide receiver. So they might not have 7 wide receivers. Who is number 6? Assuming number 6 is the last wide receiver spot. Because right now I'm looking at this Chiefs wide receiver room. You got those 5 guys I mentioned. I'd like to think Andrew Armstrong is number 6, but it doesn't matter what I think or what I want. It matters what the Chiefs want. And I think the Chiefs have high praise for Nico Remigio, whether we agree or not. I think Nico Remigio is number 6, and I know that's not going to sit well with a lot of you guys when Andrew Armstrong might not make this team. I think he should make this team. Let me make that clear. This is not my opinion. My opinion is not Andrew Armstrong is not good enough to make the 53-man roster. That's not my opinion. My prediction is Andrew Armstrong might be the odd man out because the way the Chiefs offense is going to be constructed for the initial 53, I'd be surprised if Armstrong's on the team, and I hope I'm wrong on this. But the reason I'm coming to the conclusion that Nico Remigio is essentially a lock, and the Chiefs coaching staff, they've had great things to say about Nico Remigio in the past, but I listened to Dave Toub in his press conference earlier this week, and the way he's talking about Nico Remigio, it sounds like his spot on the team is signed, sealed, and delivered. And again, I know a lot of you guys don't want to hear that, but I think Nico Remigio is number 6 for special teams purposes. So what happens to Andrew Armstrong? If this is assuming the Chiefs are not going to have 7 wide receivers, because I think 7 is going to be too much with the way they're trying to manage the entire offensive side of the ball, especially with 3 quarterbacks this time. He's going to have to clear the waiver wire. And I would be surprised if Andrew Armstrong did not get picked up by a team. I'd be surprised. And if that somehow becomes the case, man, that guy is immediately coming back to the practice squad. No question about it. But I don't think that happens. If Andrew Armstrong is not on your initial 53, he's gone. And you have to accept the fact that there will be a team out there that will want him as their number 5 or number 6 or maybe even a number 7 wide receiver. So if the Chiefs really want Andrew Armstrong, you better put him on your main 53. And look, I know, let me just say this about Nico Remigio. I'm not really fascinated with his return abilities like the Chiefs are. I know in the 2024 playoff run, the one where the Chiefs were attempting the three-peat, he had a couple of really good returns there. He had that big 60-some yard return, kickoff return to open up the game against the Texans. And then against the Bills in the AFC Championship game, he had a nice 40-some yard punt return that quickly turned into a touchdown drive by the Chiefs within 6 plays. They got to the end zone. So I don't know. Outside of that, I mean, Nico Remigio has not really stood out. And listen, in fairness, I'm not saying the return struggles are all on Nico Remigio, because they're not. I mean, look, the Chiefs tried Sky Moore for the return game, and he, outside of that one return in the AFC Championship game against Cincinnati, there's nothing that excites you, or that excited you, I should say, about Sky Moore when he was returning punts and kickoffs for the Chiefs. But Sky Moore goes to San Francisco. He's a top 10 guy when it came to kick returns and punt returns, or at least kickoff returns. I don't know about punt returns off the top of my head, but he was a top 10 guy when it came to kick returns last season. So the blocking, the penalties in the return game, that's been a big factor. But I still believe that Nico Remigio, Tyquan Thornton, maybe Cyrus Allen, who I know has had some kickoff returns and punt returns in practice, had one in last week's preseason game as well. I think you can use one of those guys for your return game. But Kansas City seems to really like Nico Remigio for that position. And I'm not entirely sure why. Outside of 2 really good returns he had in the playoffs a couple years ago, I have not seen anything that would indicate that this guy can be a good returner for you in the long run. I just don't, but the Chiefs do. So by the time it's all said and done, on Sunday when the roster cuts need to be submitted, Andrew Armstrong might be the odd man out. I know that's not something that a lot of guys want to hear. I certainly don't take pleasure in having to say that. I really, really hope I'm wrong. But I'm assuming it's going to be 6 receivers, and I think Remigio is going to be number 6, and Andrew Armstrong could be the odd man out. Yeah, okay, I'm reading some of the comments here. A lot of you guys are not thrilled about the idea of Remigio. Yeah, I don't see the fascination either. Justin, yeah, I agree with you. I don't know what it is they see in him. They see something in him, though. That's the thing. So we'll have to see. Move on from Remigio. I really don't want to waste a needed spot on Remigio. I hate to hear that. He would be a great addition. Yeah, and listen, Andrew Armstrong has been pretty active in practice, not just with the 2s and 3s, but also with Mahomes in the starting unit in practice. And I emphasize practice because we have not seen Patrick Mahomes in a preseason game. I think the starting unit in the preseason, in the 2 preseason games so far, and obviously we're not getting any starters. Well, you might get some starting offensive linemen for tonight's game, but I mean, it's going to be a different quarterback with second, third, fourth string receivers. We can now come to the conclusion that the starting unit with Justin Fields as the quarterback did not get a score this preseason, not even a field goal, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the concern here, is that whenever we have to evaluate these receivers and how they do with Patrick Mahomes, all we have is practice. And I know a lot of you guys have not been to training camp. I went to all of them except for one. And what I can tell you from there is that Andrew Armstrong was pretty active with Mahomes in this I don't want to say the starting unit, but got a lot of reps with Mahomes offense, because you guys know how the wide receiver position works. A lot of receivers will rotate in and out. Sometimes you will see the number 6 or the number 7 wide receiver play on the very first offensive snap of the game, and statistically that will be calculated as a start for that player, as weird as that sounds. So like if the Chiefs, let's say for example, if they start the game off with a 5 wide set, obviously that does not include Travis Kelce. So statistically speaking, that will not be considered a start for Travis Kelce. So on Travis Kelce's stat sheet, it's basically going to show he did not start this game, as weird as that sounds. But yeah, I've liked what I've seen from Armstrong in training camp. Now in the preseason, haven't seen necessarily too much of Armstrong, more, of the stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, like the blocking. That was pretty good, especially in that Rams game. I had a couple of defenders just throwing them down. And I think those are the kinds of things that you want on your team. I'm just thinking of that right now. I'm like, man, if Andrew Armstrong can do that, I'd like a guy like that blocking on special teams. And I know kick returns are weird now, where the way they line up, which I completely hate. And we had Dante Hall on the podcast, and he, tried to give his point of view on that. And I respect and appreciate everything Dante Hall did. I disagree. I'm not too big on the dynamic kickoff thing. I like what it used to be with, what was it, five guys lined up front, and then 4, which were mostly tight ends and fullbacks, and then the 2 in the far back. Sometimes they would both be, on one side, or one would line up in front of the other, and they would do it that way. But neither here nor there. Yeah, a lot of you guys. Tobe is stubborn and just doesn't give up on things. We mentioned Dante Hall. Who did Dante Hall play for the majority of his time in Kansas City? Dick Vermeil. Dick Vermeil was very well known for not giving up on guys. I don't have a problem with not giving up on someone, but I think when someone's been given plenty of chances, and listen, I think Andy Reid is that way too. Andy Reid will give guys a lot of opportunities. I think on a lot of NFL rosters, Felix Anudike-Uzomah would have been cut by now. But the Chiefs are willing to let him ride out the entirety of his rookie deal to see what he can do before it's all said and done. But with Remigio at that position, I don't know. And listen, again, like I said earlier, to be fair, it's not just Remigio. The blocking is bad. The penalties, there have been so many issues in the return game. By the way, if you guys haven't seen it already, oh, whoops, that's not what we wanted. Let me get the right link on there because the majority of you guys watching are on Facebook. The Chiefs haven't had a special teams touchdown in 6 years. Yeah, it's been, was it 2020 or 2021? Because I remember both McCole Hardman and Byron Pringle had a return touchdown that year. I can't remember who was more recent. I want to say Hardman, but I mean, but it's one of those two. Yeah, it's been a while. And listen, I remember the Chiefs in 2013, they had so many different guys return a touchdown. Dexter McCluster was a good returner in 2013. Quentin Demps had a return touchdown. Niall Davis, not in 2013, but a couple years later, had a kickoff return for a touchdown. Like, the Chiefs did not have a clear-cut number one returner, but they had, you know, like I said, McCluster, who did really well in 2013 as a returner. Quentin Demps, Niall Davis, Byron Pringle, McCole Hardman. I know that there's another, I think D'Anthony Thomas might have had a return touchdown in the preseason. I can't remember if he had one in the regular season, but you've had, oh, here's another guy that I think a lot of people forget about, Tremont Smith. He never had a return touchdown, but in his short time with the Chiefs, he had a couple of big returns for Kansas City that gave the offense great field position. If you don't get the touchdowns, but you can give your team great field position, they'll take that. Absolutely will take that. And Tremont Smith did that for the Chiefs a couple of times. Like, the Chiefs used to be really, really, really good in the return game. I don't know if Dave Toub has immensely struggled with adjusting to the dynamic kickoff or what it is. I know the president of the United States has had a lot to say about it, and Toub responded back and said he doesn't know what he's talking about. Listen, I'm just not a big fan of that. And Toub seems to love it, the dynamic kickoff, but he can't adjust to it. So I don't know what it is exactly that had the Chiefs going from a reliable return team to no longer being that good anymore, like really bad. I don't know, but it's been frustrating to see for sure. Some may call it loyalty rather than stubbornness. There's a case to be made, but at some point we need to cut bait and move on. But and again, see, I think, you know, you say some call it loyalty, and you say stubbornness. Okay, whichever word you want to use, because I think in this context they can be interchangeable, right? Because look, Andy Reid took a long time to fire Bob Sutton. He took a long time to let Connor Embry go. Could have let Matt Nagy go much sooner, but man, those two got a great relationship. And I get it. Football is about building relationships. But you owe it to yourself to listen. Andy Reid even alluded to himself in a press conference. He knows he's not coaching that much longer. How much longer exactly, I don't know. But you owe it to yourself, because Andy Reid went a long time without a championship win. Everyone considered Andy Reid the best head coach in NFL history to not win a title. Some people think Marty Schottenheimer fits that bill as well. I mean, and it was sad to see, because a lot of people thought Reid and Schottenheimer, two guys who have coached a long time in Kansas City, the best to never win a Super Bowl at the head coaching position. And Reid, thankfully, was able to graduate from that list. So, you know, it took him a long time to get that first Super Bowl win. So now you're winning a bunch. Go get one more before it's all said and done. Yeah, a lot of criticism on Toub. Andy is only 68. Yeah, but Donnie, you got to remember, and here's the example I'll use is Dick Vermeil. He retired at 69. And listen, Vermeil retired on multiple occasions. So I don't know. Frank says the game and the rules have changed in the NFL. That's why you don't see many returns anymore. And once they become good, they turn them into offensive weapons. That's true. The offensive weapon part is true. Because, and I've said this before, we haven't talked about this part in a while. If Tyreek Hill was primarily just, if he was stuck just returning kicks and punts and never played on offense, Tyreek Hill could have been one of the best return guys of all time. But as you very well said, they try to involve those guys more on offense, given their capability. Because especially in today's NFL, you do see a lot more speed, especially with the West Coast offense, that style of offense today, more than you did 20 years ago. So yeah, once you do really well on special teams, it's like, okay, well, you're not really worth keeping on special teams anymore. You got to focus more on offense, and we'll put someone else there. But that goes back to my previous point: is the Chiefs, it didn't matter who was returning kickoffs or punts. They had a lot of guys that would do well there. So I don't know. And yeah, you do mention, not seeing many big returns, but you don't see a lot of penalties with like the Chiefs. It feels like every other return, whether it's a kickoff or a punt return, there's a penalty. Come on. That'd be interesting, Danny. I'm curious on what kind of maneuvering they do. I think autocorrect might have got you with that word right there. I'm with you on Armstrong. Need him. Remigio, but doesn't provide anything else. Really move on. Yeah, I think we're all in. Here's my question. Is there anyone that likes Nico Remigio? I don't know who does. I haven't seen anyone come out and say Nico Remigio should absolutely be a part of the team. I don't know. I haven't seen that. Okay, I do got to get to some I don't want to call it breaking news, but it is significant and we do need to discuss it, and it has to do with Josh Simmons. If you do not know the news, you're probably thinking, "Oh boy, what is the update here?" And let me pull up the exact quote, because I do not want to misquote Jeremy Fowler on this. So he said this yesterday on SportsCenter in regards to an injury update with Josh Simmons. Here's the exact quote from Jeremy Fowler. He's got a back issue. He's been classified as day-to-day, but I can say that he is undergoing more tests to see if there is something long-term here. It could be minor, but they are still identifying that situation. Oh boy. That's not good. It's not good. Okay, let me just say this. I am choosing not to panic because we have 17 days left for the season opener. But my level of concern was at a 0. It's building now. Very, very little, but it is starting to build. And look, here's my immediate reaction to this is Kansas City has mishandled a couple of injuries before. The Eric Berry injury, because they said Simmons is day-to-day. And I think Chiefs fans get PTSD when they hear day-to-day, because that's what we were told about Eric Berry in 2018, and he did not play for 15 weeks. I mean, Eric Berry was out for almost 2 years. It was crazy. Yeah, I see a lot of the reactions in the comments about this. Eric Berry, they mishandled that. Hollywood Brown, McCole Hardman. And somebody commented on the Facebook page, and I apologize, I don't remember the name, but it was actually a very good question. They asked, when has something like this ever panned out to lead to basically a good ending? It's a very, very valid question. I have not seen that. What about Trey Smith's back injury? He has a hip injury. He's practicing recently. But regardless, here's my thing. What did I tell you guys back in April? when every single person said no offensive tackle, because the national media swore to you that the Chiefs were going to get an offensive tackle. And I saw every single person from Chiefs Kingdom just about completely reject that idea and say that there's nothing exciting about picking an offensive tackle at number 9, because the Chiefs, the hope and expectation is, now the Chiefs obviously traded up to number 6, but you get the idea, a top 10 pick. The hope and expectation is that the Chiefs will never, ever, ever pick in the top 10 again in the Patrick Mahomes era. And that because they're picking so high, they got to get some big playmaker like a Carnell Tate or a Jordan Tyson. And I would not have been opposed to that. But I kept telling people back then, sure, drafting in the top 10 and taking an offensive tackle is the least sexiest thing you can do. In April, it doesn't sound thrilling. But guess what? In September and beyond, drafting an offensive tackle in the top 10 can actually be exciting. Might not sound exciting in April, but it'll sound exciting during the season. And look, I like the Monster Delane pick. I'm not against it. But here's my issue. What did the Chiefs do all offseason? They, on the offensive side of the football, that is. They changed some of the coaches, and they changed the running backs room. Name one veteran wide receiver they brought in. Yes, they were interested in Stephon Diggs. That's someone they were interested in. They didn't bring him in. So, again, I asked the question, name a veteran wide receiver the Chiefs brought in. So they haven't done that. And sure, they have 17 days before they bring in a veteran wide receiver. Technically, you better do it before 17 days because you got to give them at least one practice week to kind of get in with the offense. And even then, we still know it takes forever, evidently, to get involved with Andy Reid's team whenever you join the team mid-season. I mean, I know it's week 1, but technically, you're basically full speed with the offense at that point. So they did not bring in a veteran wide receiver. Name a veteran offensive tackle they brought in. They only had one, and that was Kellen Dyche, who they signed 8 days ago, and they cut him for Joshua Ezeudu. Joshua Ezeudu is your only veteran addition on the offensive line. And this guy has played a lot of left tackle. He's played a lot of left guard. For a guy who's only had 10 starts, to be clear. He's also played some right tackle and right guard this preseason. Listen, I said a couple days ago, I think this move primarily has to do with right tackle, the Ezeudu move. But now with what we're learning about Josh Simmons, there is serious concern about what might happen long term. I don't know, man. To me, like, I'm just looking at this offensive line right now. Okay, you have who was it? Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey. Nothing to say about them other than great things. The right tackle position, I have no idea what that's going to look like, and that's a very scary thought. Left guard, you have Kingsley Suamataia. Certainly way better at left guard than left tackle. Still has room to grow too. He's not bad, but he can do better. And if the Chiefs wanted to, they could find a better left guard out there. Oh, they had one. His name was Joe Tooney. But because they focused on other positions, they could not figure it out how to keep him and stay under the salary cap. So they traded him, and he won Protector of the Year award. Bad move by Brett Veach. Now, the left tackle spot. And look, I'll give Brett Veach a little bit of credit because it has not been for a lack of effort. Because ever since you cut Eric Fisher, you trade for Orlando Brown, and there was a lot of hope for him. Looked awful in his first game with the Chiefs, and it never picked up from there. Never did. Who was after Orlando Brown? Donovan Smith, if I'm not mistaken. Not great. Not great if we're being honest. And then who was after Donovan Smith? It was Kingsley Suamataia, and then Wanye Morris, and then back to Kingsley, and then back to Wanye, and then DJ Humphrey. Remember DJ Humphreys? He was very briefly a Chief, started one game and could not stay healthy. even though the doctors cleared him and said, yep, he's good to go. Let's do it. Sign him. Well, the Chiefs did, and that risk did not pay off. Low risk, no reward. Let's see. What else did they do? They shifted Tooney to left tackle, and between Eric Fisher and Josh Simmons, Tooney was your best left tackle. Now, I think Simmons is a great left tackle. Like, the things that he has done in practice and last year when he did play looked awesome. But we are in a very scary situation with him again, where he's dealing with an injury. And I've acknowledged this before. Last year, yes, he had a season-ending injury, but the Chiefs shut him down because there was no point in having him out there for the last 3 games. But I guess it still counts as a season-ending injury. The year before was a season-ending injury. And now again, I'm not panicking, but with the recent report from Jeremy Fowler, there's a question right now. Who's playing left tackle for you? I don't know who the right tackle is in week 1, and I don't know who the left tackle is in week 1. But you guys did not want an offensive tackle taken with the number 9 pick. So, and listen, I'm not saying the fans and their response dictates what the Chiefs will do, but I think the Chiefs still had that same mindset of, hey, we have to take a skill position player at 9 or 6. And here we are. I'm just telling you right now, I know the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes in 2022, they made it to a Super Bowl and won with 2 bad offensive tackles, Orlando Brown and Andrew Wiley. Mahomes almost unanimously won MVP that year, because remember, that was the first year without Tyreek Hill. Mahomes earned that MVP that year. And then what happened a year later? The Chiefs won the Super Bowl despite receivers not being able to catch if their life depended on it. And that was frustrating. You're not going to, as much as I think highly of Mahomes and think that he can do a lot with very little at times, you cannot rely on Mahomes to take you to the Super Bowl every year with 2 bad offensive tackles and receivers who can't catch. I think the receiver room will be better. Let me be clear on that. But it won't matter if he's not given time to throw. And I am scared shitless for Mahomes this year, coming back from an ACL and LCL tear. If Simmons' injury is long-term, and if the right tackle position is not figured out. If Simmons, listen, Jeremy Fowler did say that it could be minor, but we don't know. And this is, I guess, going back to the Chiefs, not knowing, like, they've screwed up a couple of injuries before. Okay, they have. What is it that's taking a week and a half at this point with Simmons? How do you not know what's going on with him? And listen, maybe the Chiefs do know, and they just don't want to say it publicly. The Chiefs are very well known for doing that. I think some teams try to do that. But if what Jeremy Fowler is saying is true, how do you not have it figured out what's going on with Simmons? What's taking so long? Because if I want to go see a doctor right now about my back, it might take a little bit of time. I don't get that kind of scheduling immediately. But if you're Josh Simmons and you play for a professional football team, you can get a meeting with a doctor within a moment's notice. It's not going to take you, 3 to 5 business days or 3 to 5 business weeks for some people. You can get that figured out immediately. See, a lot of you guys are saying sit pat out for the year. The Chiefs are not doing that. I get the logic. I mean, don't get me wrong, but that's not happening. Look, the Chiefs have invested a lot. Haven't the Chiefs been known the last few years for making Chris Jones, Harrison Butker, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, the highest paid players at their positions? And I know that does not stick forever. Obviously, those records have been broken since then. But my point is, the Chiefs, and they paid Karlaftis. Now, Karlaftis was not a record-breaking contract guy, but they're still paying him a lot of money. The Chiefs have invested a lot in guys. They've had to trade guys away, fan favorites, because they can't afford to keep everyone. So they've invested a lot on their team. They're not just going to sit Mahomes out, but man, it's frustrating that they don't know what the situation is with Simmons. And I'm hoping that this is all a nothing burger and this is minor, or that the Chiefs are choosing to keep it a secret. Now, if the Chiefs are wanting to be secretive about this, that's not a great thing for Simmons' long-term health. From a PR standpoint, that sounds weird. But I don't know, man. Like, there's a chance. And again, I'm choosing not to panic right now because there's 17 days to go. Simmons, we can't just wait for 17 days and for Simmons to be like, okay, I'm ready in 17 days. No, you got to practice the first week of the game. So because the Chiefs play on a Monday, their install basically starts on Thursday. Well, technically in week 1, your install can start very, very early, but the official start, if you will, is going to be on a Thursday that day because the Chiefs play on a Monday. So if that Thursday, and what is the date of that Thursday? Because I want to be very clear on this. September 10th. If Simmons is not practicing on September 10th, I have concerns. I have serious concerns. Right now, I'm not choosing to hit the panic button, but I am asking a lot of questions. And I'm gradually concerned. Is Mahomes going to have a 2022 season where he has 2 bad offensive tackles? Because if that's the case, my God, you are hoping this is the best year ever for Magic Mahomes. Are the Tyreek Hill rumors true, Frankie? I'm not exactly sure what Tyreek Hill rumors you're referring to. Him coming back to the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs are monitoring him. I know he's training in Kansas City. But in terms of his availability for the season, we don't know what that looks like right now. Look, Tyreek Hill was available before free agency. And the preseason's almost over. There's a reason why he's available now. Now, could a team sign Tyreek Hill to their practice squad this weekend? Maybe. But there's a reason why he's available right now. I mean, unless he's saying, no, the only team I'm willing to play for is Kansas City, there's a reason why he's available. Bring back Willie Roaf. You might need to. Yeah. That's where we are right now. Now, I prefer Eric Fisher or Mitchell Schwartz because they're more recent, but yeah, we're kind of at a very peril spot with the Chiefs once again at the left tackle position. For now, we don't know, but it seems like it's trending towards that direction. So Kimberly says something just feels off about it. I love Simmons, but something is off. Listen, I don't subscribe to, he doesn't want to play. No, I don't subscribe to that. I don't need Simmons to play tonight's game. What the hell does Simmons need to prove for tonight's game? I just need him to be 100% healthy. And here's my thing. I get very concerned when the Chiefs say, oh, yeah, he's fully cleared. Let's go. Because then those players tend to get re-injured. That's just been a thing with the Chiefs. I'm sorry. I'm not a doctor. I'm not analyzing the injuries. I'm not evaluating these players who are hurt. I'm just telling you what I've seen with a pair of eyes. It hasn't been the best track record for Kansas City in that matter. I need one of you guys to talk me off the cliff here because I'm a little. See, Matt says, "Bro, you're panicking." Okay, maybe a little. But right now I'm choosing to keep it low. But I am asking a lot of questions. See, Chad says history repeats itself. Another 2022 season. See, what did I say earlier? 2022, you had the 2 worst offensive tackles in the world. 2023, you had the worst receiving corp in the world. And you still won the Super Bowl those 2 years. Are you banking on the Chiefs, especially this year with Mahomes coming back from an ACL and LCL tear? Are you banking on the Chiefs to reach the Super Bowl again with 2 bad offensive tackles just because it happened in 2022? I mean, I would love it. Like if Mahomes can find, let's say the Simmons thing is serious. If Mahomes can take the Chiefs to another Super Bowl with questions at the offensive tackle positions, put him in Canton now. Give him his yellow jacket now. I mean, Mahomes did not have any starting offensive lineman in Super Bowl 55 and was still running for his life, finding ways to hit receivers in their hands in the end zone. It's not Mahomes' fault they dropped everything. Okay. And then, Matt says Kingsley back to no. I get it, Matt. You're trying to come up with ideas, and I respect the hell out of that. But I mean, what options do you have? Kingsley, like, that was bad. Listen, I don't know what happened to Kingsley from college to the NFL to where he could not make the transition to left tackle in the pros. But no, just no. I've seen it twice. Third time is not a charm with that. I lost my train of thought here, but if Mahomes can somehow take you back to a Super Bowl with two bad offensive tackle players, dude, that guy deserves, like, anyone that pushes back on the Mahomes. Oh, Mahomes is only good because he had Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid. Dude, those people better stop with that narrative, because this is Mahomes. Listen, coming back from the injury at the pace he's been at is certainly impressive. But my God, man, that first game against Denver, I'm telling you guys right now, because I get shit on by you guys when I pick the Chiefs to lose a game. I'm not picking the Chiefs to win that game if they have two backup offensive tackles. I'm just not. I love the idea that you have K9. I think that can really help throw things off. But man, you better find ways to throw off that entire Denver defense more times than not on Monday Night Football if you have two backup offensive tackles. That's where things get really concerning for me. I'll read a couple more comments here before I read any more comments. I want to ask you guys, what do you want to see from Garrett Nussmeier today? Because Garrett Nussmeier is expected to start and play the entire game. Chris Oladokun is currently in the concussion protocol. Mahomes is obviously not playing. Justin Fields will be dressed up, but the expectation is he'll only be needed if there's an injury to Nussmeier. Excuse me. And I know Mahomes, he's been dressed up for every game and has taken part in warmups and everything. I mean, if both Nussmeier and Fields both get hurt, hopefully that doesn't even come down to that. Hopefully neither one of them get hurt. Who's your quarterback? Are you going with Mahomes, or are you just gonna put a wide receiver in there and do handoffs? I don't know. But what I want to see from Nussmeier today is show us the ability that you can be QB2 long term. He's not QB2 this year. I know a lot of people are saying that they like Nussmeier over Fields. So unless Nussmeier goes scorched earth and throws for 5 or 6 touchdowns, he's not going to be QB2, at least to start off the season. I do think Nussmeier is QB2 long term. 100%, I believe that. But like, let's say Mahomes cannot go in week 1, hypothetically, for whatever reason. I would not want Nussmeier out there in week 1. Inexperienced, and a great Denver defense. And I'm not saying Justin Fields is a better alternative, or at least not by much, but he at least has the veteran experience and the versatility to work around Denver's defense. I just think 1 year as a backup, Nussmeier needs, as a third string QB, to be clear. Because again, if Oladokun's concussion is long-term, or if the Chiefs decide that they don't even want to keep him long-term, even on the practice squad, Nussmeier is going to be your scout team quarterback. And those are going to be great reps for him, his rookie campaign, and then he'll eventually take the reins as QB2. It's not like we have lost 3 Super Bowls because we are so bad at offensive tackle. Listen, Michael, you're right. The Chiefs, who was your offensive tackle in technically 2020, but the 2019 season? It was Eric Fisher. Who was it when you won Super Bowl 57? It was Orlando Brown. Yeah, Orlando Brown. Who was it in Super Bowl 58? Donovan Smith. Who are the offensive tackles the 2 times you lost the Super Bowl? In Super Bowl 55, it wasn't Eric Fisher. I think it was Mike Remmers. Remember Mike Remmers? And in Super Bowl 59, it was Joe Tooney. Patrick Mahomes has played in 5 Super Bowls with 5 different offensive left tackles, to be clear. That's insanity. Like, no quarterback can get to a Super Bowl 5 times with 5 different left tackles. That's absurd. But Mahomes can do that for you. But my point is, yes, Michael, he's done it before. But in the year that he's coming back from an ACL tear and an LCL tear, I prefer that's not the method. And if Mahomes does pull it off, like let's say you have bad offensive tackle play all year long, I mean, his Hall of Fame case should be made now, not 5 years after he retires, whenever that will be. Should we keep Fulton or Snead? Snead. Fulton is costing you too much money. I'd like to think Fulton can be used for a trade, but I don't know who would trade for him with that contract. Because what does he have? $10 million this year? Yeah, no one's trading for a guy like him who's kind of an unknown. Not a bad player, but he hasn't played much in recent years either. I don't know who's going to trade for that. So Snead, I pick Snead. This will be a defining season for Mahomes. Let's see if he can change his game for the better and evolve as a QB. I don't think he needs to evolve. Now, last year was not his best year. It was his worst year. I think coaching is a big reason why, things happened the way they did. Because look at Nagy. The offensive numbers and Mahomes numbers have all been down the last 3 years. So you're bringing back the guy that made it all work very well when he was here. Sure, he's not the play caller in Eric Bieniemy, but a lot of things worked when he was here. Nuss could earn himself a trade for a left tackle. There's one possibility. In the past, we saw Mahomes take the offense down the field on the first drive of the preseason game. This year, we haven't had that opportunity. Yeah, and that's why it's hard to put stock in these preseason games in general, but even more so this year because the Chiefs don't have Mahomes out there. So I still think there's some evaluation you can do with that because, again, hopefully not, but there's a chance that Fields could be a starter for you at some point if something goes wrong with Mahomes' recovery. I'm expecting Nuss to look like Ty Simpson did last night, but even better. I'll be honest, I did not see that game last night, so I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. He is going to have to change lots of things with these patched up lines continue. Yeah, that's my concern. And look, it hasn't been for a lack of effort, but the Chiefs just haven't had viable options. And that's why, and I'll discuss this a little bit. I keep bringing this up, but I don't want to dive into detail too much with it. Let's think long-term for just a moment. When I say long-term, I'm talking like after 2026. Let's say you have serious concerns at left tackle and right tackle going into 2027. If that is the case, you need to trade Chris Jones. Chris Jones, post June 1st, I think will give you approximately $38 million in cap space. And I know that's not the best time to sign an offensive tackle because most of them will be signed for already. But if you can convince a really strong free agent left tackle to just wait it out a bit, you can go get a good offensive tackle if you trade Chris Jones. Because Chris Jones is taking up a lot of money. And I like Chris. Obviously, it depends on what happens this year. But I'm telling you right now, not that I want Chris Jones to leave, but when the Chiefs look at post June 1st, they can free up $38 million by trading Chris Jones. I'm telling you right now, the Chiefs are considering it. Will they do it? I don't know. But it is on the table of possibilities. Because if you want to bring in a good offensive tackle, you need money. The Chiefs don't have a lot of money right now. They've been spending so much. So you got to find a way to free up cap space. And the best way to do that after June 1st is to trade Chris Jones. So that is something, whether a lot of people want to hear that or not, I certainly don't want to. Chris Jones could be a serious contender for being traded next offseason. Give us some confidence. I just have a bad feeling about the beginning of this season. Yeah, some people are starting to feel that way. Seeing where it said the Chiefs were reconstructing contracts to sign Tyreek Hill. I don't know, Frankie. Where are you seeing these things? If you're seeing it from these Facebook pages that look sketchy, don't believe a damn word from those pages. Like if their names are, Chief Central HQ or Chiefs Kingdom to the nth degree, like those Facebook pages post a lot of bullshit on there. So, and, Uncle Zuck keeps saying, yeah, we're going to do something to shut down these, fake news pages. They've been saying that for a long time. In fact, our good friend Duron Cherry, he was on this podcast and he expressed his frustration about these Facebook pages publicly stating that he has health issues and he cannot remember the names of his kids or family members. And listen, I'm not sharing anything that's secretive. Duron, through his foundation, him and his family expressed serious frustration. They're like, no, this is not true at all. And Duron even mentioned to me, because of these fake Facebook pages that post a lot of BS, Duron got a text, because the Chiefs alums are very well connected. Duron got a text that, and I don't want to say the guy's name. Duron mentioned it, but I don't want to spread fake news here, because you know how things work. People will clip things and post them. Duron got a text that a Chiefs alum had passed away, and immediately he starts making phone calls, and people came to the conclusion that that was fake news. So again, I don't know where you're seeing that story, Frankie, but that's not true as far as I know. I mean, the Chiefs don't have a lot of contracts they can restructure. I mean, sure, they can restructure Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, but you're kicking the can down the road if you do that. And the Chiefs have been restructuring a lot of deals. They've made it work for now, but at some point that is going to come back to hurt you. Can't wait to see R. Mason Thomas tonight. I don't even know if he plays much today. I think he will play a little bit, but not too much. They have to trade CJ. Yeah. I'd be surprised if he retires. Get Spanny on the pod. I've never met him, and I don't know anyone that knows him. I mean, if he's out there, if there was a way to contact him, yeah, I'm definitely down. Yeah, that page has shared BS before, so I don't know if I trust them. But with that said, I'm going to get out of here, guys. I appreciate you all joining me for this pregame live chat. Farzin Vasugian here. If you miss any part of this pregame live chat, we're going to archive it very shortly. It will be on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And before I get out of here, let me quickly share the YouTube page. The YouTube page has really taken off in recent days. Now, we don't have a high volume of followers, but man, what it was before training camp and what it is now, it is a big difference. I mean, hell, on this YouTube page alone tonight, or I say tonight, this morning, man, we have a lot of people. I am not able to get this link here. Why is that? Okay. Bear with me one moment, because I want to post a link to the Facebook page for you guys. I said the Facebook page, the YouTube page. Sorry, when you're talking and doing something at the same time, it's not easy to do. There we go. Okay, there it is. The link to the YouTube channel. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to that if you haven't already. The thing I like about YouTube that you don't get on Facebook is you can turn on bell notifications, and you will get a notification immediately whenever we post a video and whenever we go live. Now with Facebook, I try to let you guys know when we will go live, but sometimes with breaking news and things maybe not going as planned, sometimes, we just don't start on time on some things, or per schedule. but we'll see. Yeah, appreciate it. All right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here, and let me check one last thing, because you guys keep saying the game tonight is 6 o'clock. I'm pretty sure it's 7. Yeah, it's 7 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock Mountain Time, if you're there. But it is 7 p.m. Central Time, and it will be on the ESPN Unlimited app if you do not live in the KC area, where they will broadcast the game on Channel 41. So with that said, come back at halftime. I'm Farzin Vasugian. Appreciate you all joining me. I will talk to you all at halftime, and then after the game, we'll do the Chiefs Zone Podcast Live with your call-ins. Talk to you all then. Peace out.